Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. So, today I'm going to be talking about the context part of my 9-part framework that helps you build a portfolio career. So, that's essentially a career that you build for yourself. And so, the first element within the first stage is called context. And really, context is important because it really talks to the fact that there needs to be some meaning behind what you're doing. Of course, you don't necessarily need a huge, deep meaning if you want to make money in today's world. However, if you want to create some level of sustainability, if you want some level of consistency or persistence in what you're doing, there has to be a certain level of meaning. And so meaning is attributed in many different ways. And I'm talking about this because, again, for me personally, context has been really important. So understanding who I think I am as an individual. What do I mean by that? How can we truly know who we are? It's hard to state. Now, for those of you who are religious by nature or who are more spiritual by nature, you'll understand that actually the great I am helps us to identify who we are. Because if we understand that we are everything and everything is us in one and all that kind of stuff there, to some degree, to some level, we're all from the same stuff. Do you actually understand that we're creators and everything is possible, so to speak? So I'm not going to go too deep into that whole esoteric side of things. But I say this to say that believe in more. Because if you believe in more, you understand that you can do more. You can be, do, have, as they say. For those people or influencers or individuals who say be, do, have is nonsense, well, what I'd say to you is being is your sense of identity. It's a state that you're in, so to speak. Doing is the behaviors, the actions, the activity that you take place. And then having is the possession of stuff. And of course, the easiest way we describe things is through doing. But saying all this to say that if you identify with each of those three different things, then you have a solid basis for meaning. So who are you? How do we describe what that looks like? Number one, where have you come from? Now, I'm not talking about this from a universal esoteric standpoint. I'm talking about in terms of your parents. Where are your parents from? Are they from African country, Asian country, etc., etc.? Did they stick to certain traditions? Did they have to traverse across different, mediums or countries to get to where you are right now? What's the context behind them as individuals? Because if you can understand your family tree, your family story, then actually it gives a definition of success and challenge, struggle and insight. And so all of this powers you up and allows you to have a vision of what you want and what you don't want, because it's based on preferences. So speak to your parents, understand them a bit deeper, because these conversations will enable you to sort of shape and define where you think you want to go. It's within you. The other thing is culture. Okay, so culture is, I guess, it's accumulated behaviors that express a way in which a group of people do something. And so thinking about these behaviors, they may potentially mean something in terms of an etiquette in the way you do things, in the way you act, in the way you communicate. And so understanding your cultural identity is also going to be important. And actually, you need to decide, do you want to ascribe to what this is, or don't you want to ascribe to what it is? So define your sense of culture. And for many, at the basis of everything, everyone's minimus culture or their base culture is defined based on their values. And so I'll come on to this in a second, but there are experiences that you've had in life, many, many different experiences. And all of these experiences shape how you make decisions. So there are different types of values that exist. You have your core values. So these are the things that you deem as truly important. They're just not going to be negotiable. Even if you got 50 million pounds, you would never swap these values for anything else. Then you've got your means values. So these are things that are allowing you to stay driven and they help you make decisions in life. So they help you reach certain goals. And then you've got end values, which are the goals that you're trying to reach. So these are end values like freedom or peace or whatever it may be. And so an exercise you can do is you can talk about your life, let's say over the last 5 to 10 years, maybe record it, and you can upload this or transcribe this onto a platform. And then you can get some sort of generative AI like Gemini or ChatGPT to break down what your value system is, because again, that forms your culture. What you can also do, which is what I try to do each 6 months or year, is to break down how each month has gone, summarize it in a few bullet points. And that allows you to have a view in terms of, again, what is most important to you. So the experiences, really important, are a way to capture and crystallize what you've learned. Okay, so I talk about this in my book, Understand, Reach, Expand, 15 Super Effective Ways to Manage Your Mind. So if you ever want a deep dive in all of this stuff, you can check that stuff out. Or you can check out my system, so the life navigation system, which you can actually get for yourself, and follow the way in which I do this every single year and regularly, in terms of making sure that I have an anchored and grounded sense of meaning. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this part as well. There's also your expertise. I feel like the CV is a great way to understand your professional acumen. And so your CV will give you clues in terms of understanding like what you've done. So like I've always said before, PAR is a framework that I've put together. So what are the problems you solve? These problems need to be strategic by nature. So how are you helping that organization? How are you helping that end client? Whatever it may be. Actions. What actions did you take that align to a methodology? Whether you recognized it back then or not, what methodology did you take that is recognized by other individuals or other clients or other organizations within that space? And finally, results. What tangible benefits did you realize? What money was made? What money was saved? What results were improved? What processes were improved? What was the percentage? What was the customer feedback, etc., etc.? What did you contribute to all of this stuff? And so once you design this stuff from your CV, you're able to develop a set of core competencies that make sense for a different type of set of roles that you can do for a specific industry or specific niche or whatever it may be. So we're not trying to be ultra prescriptive in terms of what we want to be in terms of the CV element, but we want to have an idea. Okay. And just to round it off, I've got some notes from the system that I utilize. I've got a bunch of different questions that I ask. So here are some things to consider. So number one, break down what you've done each month. Number two, write down your life lessons each year. What were the life lessons that you learned? And again, talking about your experience over the year is going to be really important. Record that because insights are really important. Next one is, who do you want to become? That's a really important question because, you know, what you're basically talking about is aspects of your vision or what you see as a way to define that. And you can utilize something like the Wheel of Life, or what I call the pillars of mastery, to help you define this stuff. Okay. So again, for those of you who don't know what the pillars of mastery are, they are essentially 4 core areas of your life. So things centered around performance, progression, people, and personal. So for example, you've got the personal element, which is centered around personal development, home management and maintenance, and anything to do with like hobbies and outings and stuff. You've got progress, which is all centered around your portfolio career, your business, and your financial management. You've also got performance, which is all centered around physical management. You've got nutritional management. And then depending on who you are, I say spiritual management, but some may say emotional management or psychological management, etc., etc. And then you got people, which is your romantic relationships, friends and family, and community. Okay, so that is a way to understand who do you want to become. Why? Because you can see what you're doing right now, okay, then see what you want for the future based on the gap and then work towards that. So it's a gap analysis. So who you want to become is really important. Just writing simple statements. Maybe you want to be a loving husband, a loving partner, this, that, etc., etc. You want to define why you want to become that person. So there is a sense of meaning attributed towards that. Then you want to start talking about, again, what you need to let go of. What do you need to let go of in order to become this person? And sometimes it may be important to think about the word for the year that you want. Okay. So maybe it is ambition, or maybe it is, I don't know, excitement, whatever it may be. It helps to anchor stuff. But I say all of this to say that at the end of the day, whether you do it this intently or not, really comes down to how you feel, because you'll understand whether you're meant to get to the next step or not. If you rush this process, then you may prematurely start this portfolio career and then start to wonder, why are things not working for me? When really you should have come back to this initial part. So this is part one of the whole context element. Part two, I'll start talking more about how you can utilize that information and align it with what the market is telling you in terms of things that you should pay attention to. Because we have to start off with this personal stuff before we start moving into the other elements as well. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And again, if you want to see the next part to the context and the rest of the 9-part framework for the portfolio career, then stay tuned and I'll be speaking to you very soon. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.